Welcome, brave souls, to Darken Haven. Here, in the shadows, we unravel tales of terror and descent into the unknown. Are you ready to confront the darkness? Step inside, if you dare. My job as a historical researcher has taken me to some of the oldest, most storied places in the country, but nothing could have prepared me for St. Michael's Church. The church, nestled on the outskirts of a small, forgotten town, had been abandoned for decades. The diocese wanted a thorough report before deciding whether to restore or demolish it, and they hired me to dig into its history. From the moment I arrived, the atmosphere of the place was oppressive. The church was a massive Gothic structure, its spires reaching up like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. The once grand facade was now crumbling, with vines snaking up the walls and broken stained glass windows gaping like empty eye sockets. Despite the bright afternoon sun, a chill lingered in the air. My first task was to explore the church and take inventory of any artifacts or records left behind. The interior was dark and musty, with the heavy scent of decay and mold. Pews were overturned, and debris littered the stone floor. As I set up my equipment, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I started in the nave, photographing the dilapidated altar and the remnants of the ornate carvings that once adorned it. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional creak of the old wood settling. As I moved deeper into the church, I found the entrance to the crypt, a heavy oak door slightly ajar. It felt as if it had been waiting for me. I descended the narrow, spiral staircase, my flashlight casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. The air grew colder with each step, and I wrapped my jacket tighter around me. At the bottom, I found a series of tombs, the names of long-forgotten priests and parishioners etched into the stone. As I documented each one, I noticed a peculiar inscription on the back wall, requiescat in pace, anima sola. The phrase "rest in peace," lonely soul, sent a shiver down my spine. I turned to leave, but my flashlight flickered and died. Plunged into darkness, I fumbled for my spare batteries, but a soft, ghostly whispering filled the air before I could replace them. My hands trembled as I finally got the flashlight working again. When the light came back on, I saw something that made my blood run cold, a shadowy figure standing at the far end of the crypt. Its form was indistinct, but its eyes, glowing a sickly green, were unmistakably fixed on me. I stumbled backward, dropping my flashlight. It clattered to the ground and went out again. In the pitch black, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from all around me, wrapping me in a cold embrace. I scrambled up the stairs, the stone steps slick under my feet. When I finally burst into the nave, I slammed the crypt door shut, my heart pounding. Breathing heavily, I tried to collect myself. I told myself it was just my imagination, that the darkness and the isolation were playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew something was very wrong with St. Michael's Church. Determined to finish my work and leave as soon as possible, I moved to the church's library. The room was filled with old, dusty tomes and crumbling documents. I began sifting through them, hoping to find some explanation for the strange events. As I read, a pattern emerged. The church had a history of unexplained deaths and disappearances. Parishioners spoke of seeing ghostly apparitions and hearing disembodied voices. The final entry in the church's record, dated 50 years ago, detailed the sudden closure of the church after the unexplained death of Father Alistair, the last priest to serve there. Father Alistair's diary was among the documents. His last entries were increasingly frantic, describing encounters with a malevolent spirit he referred to as the anima sola. He wrote of cold spots, shadows that moved on their own, and a growing sense of dread. His final entry ended abruptly. "It wants my soul. I can feel it drawing closer. God help me." As I read those words, a cold gust of wind blew through the library, extinguishing my lantern. The room plunged into darkness, and I felt an icy hand grip my shoulder. I spun around, but there was no one there. The whispers returned, louder and more menacing. Panicking, I grabbed the diary and ran for the exit. The whispers followed me, growing to a deafening roar. The heavy wooden doors of the church groaned as I pushed them open, and I stumbled out into the cold night air, gasping for breath. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. Back at my hotel, I pored over Father Alistair's diary, searching for any clue on how to stop the anima sola. His final entries mentioned a relic, a small silver crucifix blessed by the bishop that he believed could banish the spirit. It was hidden in the church beneath the altar. I didn't want to go back, but I knew I had to. The next morning, armed with the diary and a renewed sense of purpose, I returned to St. Michael's. The church was eerily silent as I made my way to the altar. I pried up the loose stones as Father Alistair described, and there, covered in dust and cobwebs, was the crucifix. As I held the crucifix aloft, the air grew colder and the shadows deepened. The whispers returned, but this time they were filled with anger. The shadowy figure reappeared, its glowing eyes fixed on the crucifix. I began to recite a prayer from the diary, my voice shaking. "Anima sola, I command you to leave this place. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, be gone." The figure shrieked, a sound that pierced my very soul. The shadows writhed and twisted, and for a moment I thought I had failed. But then, with a final agonized cry, the figure dissolved into nothingness. The cold lifted, and the whispers fell silent. Exhausted, I collapsed to my knees, clutching the crucifix. The church felt different now, as if a great weight had been lifted. The oppressive atmosphere was gone, replaced by a sense of peace. I left St. Michael's that day, confident that the anima sola had been banished. The diocese decided to restore the church, and it now stands as a beacon of hope in the community. But sometimes, late at night, I can still hear the faint echo of whispers, a reminder of the darkness that once haunted the halls of St. Michael's Church. If you survived our tale of terror and crave more stories from the shadows, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon, and let the nightmares continue to haunt you. Until next time, sleep with one eye open.